Welcome to Plant the Love. We are going to talk about fostering wellness through the power of natural plants and positive mental health practices. I am your host, Ashley Rawson. On our show, you're going to hear from folks who have a lot of knowledge and expertise about this sneaky little subject. If you're curious if this path is right for you, you have come to the right place. We will empower you with information to make healthy, life-changing choices. We're so glad you're here. Now on to the episode. Disclaimer: the content in this show is for informational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of treatment by a medical health professional. Listeners and viewers should consult with their doctor or medical health professional with any medical concerns. I am not a doctor. However, we do work closely with doctors when we review medications. I do not have a medical degree of any kind. What we are discussing has been in no way approved by the FDA. What I am sharing with you has been from my own experience and research. If you are taking any medication, do not make any changes until you consult your doctor. And now, let's start the Plant the Love show. Hello, beautiful world. This is Ashley, Plant the Love on NGBN TV, coming to you from St. Lucia, the beautiful island. Been here before, visiting again. Got a project down here and transitioning my life here permanently, I hope. But great things take a little bit of time. And so I'm back again on this beautiful island and coming to you 2 weeks post MDMA treatment. And so I know that I myself most certainly have felt a difference. And each day that goes by, it is even more and more evident that I'm a little bit different. As far as the people that see me on a day-to-day basis, I've had an opportunity to ask each of them. Now, keep in mind, I have not gone down the street and called a lot of my friends. Obviously, might have put it on YouTube, but by and large, the people in my circle don't necessarily know that I've done this. And as I read the book, A Dose of Hope, I noticed that in that book, it talks about when you make this choice and decision to do something so controversial that you don't really tell a lot of people. And that the 2 weeks after your treatment, you're raw. And it actually, they advise you to not make any major emotional choices or decisions or sign any papers, because after that treatment, your brain's been a little bit joggled up. And after the treatment, I did take SAM-E, which is a product that is designed to help replenish or replace the serotonin in my brain, because there have been many studies on this drug. Again, MDMA was actually developed in the early 1900s. It's been around a very, very long time. They were on the cutting edge of research in the 1960s, but the war on drugs shut a lot of that research down, and Big Pharma came onto the scene and has been the king ever since. So people such as myself are digging around in the world of information. And I found someone who is near and dear to me that I love and trust, who shared with me that they have had profound experiences through treatment of clinical MDMA. Let me clarify, I am in no way advocating that this is for you. I'm in no way advocating anything recreational. I want to remind you that when I did the MDMA therapy, and I'm 2 weeks post, there was a great deal of planning and preparation, as well as self-education that was not only requested, but required that I complete prior to this clinician even making an appointment to treat me. So again, I read this book, changed my life. You can't see it because I have a digital screen behind me. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It's written by Bessel van der Kolk, who's an MD. This book looks at trauma, PTSD, and depression in ways that I have not seen anyone, no offense if you have, but anyone in modern medicine address in any way, shape, way, or form. So a little bit about my story. I'm 49. At the age of 27, I had a nervous breakdown. I was sent to one of the best medical facilities in the United States to receive the best care, was in their medical psych ward, where I was diagnosed bipolar, given pharmaceuticals, and diagnosed with alcoholism. Began seeing a counselor, started a program, and it's no doubt changed my life. The fact that I am alcohol free almost 20 years later, I've had 2 relapses, but now 9 years, almost 6 months, not one drink of alcohol. And by God's grace and mercy, one day at a time, I don't want to, which that's the miracle. But let me say, in order for my obsession for alcohol to be removed, and let me tell you, it was the only thing I thought about, whether I wanted to admit it or not. I got everything finished in my life. I was running. I was top 5 in the company, in nationally. So I did very, very well. Alcoholics typically have above average intelligence. I was extremely successful, mid 20s, top 5 in the company, partying, had an expense account. Thought I had control, was really justifying whether or not I did. And what it boiled down to is, as the years went on and I was self-medicating this chemical imbalance in my brain that I didn't even have any idea that I had, the disease of alcoholism had progressed full bore, full on. I was not drinking every day. I had not had a DUI. However, I wanted to kill myself every day I woke up. And I wished that when I woke up or came to, because I wasn't actually sleeping, I passed out. When I woke up, I wished that I hadn't woken up. And so day by day, I began to have an obsession that I wished that I had the courage to, not be here. And I knew that was not a way of going through life. And so, one thing led to another, and I ended up in the ER and received excellent medical help. I truly believe if pharmaceuticals were not around, that I don't know if I would be. So without a shadow of a doubt, the science of pharmacology has done wonders, and it definitely helps with my depression. However, what I've learned through researching plant-based medicine, behavior therapy, what I've learned through one-on-one talk therapy with my outstanding therapist, is that depression and PTSD are 2 completely different animals. When you begin reading the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it talks about how most of us in the population, and most definitely I was included, people who have PTSD are war veterans, combat veterans, someone that has gone through horrific crimes. And it wouldn't be your normal everyday Joe, Ashley, who was raised in a beautiful, loving family. I never had fear that food was not going to be on my table. Definitely a comfortable middle class family. And I thought that I was very, very loved. And I was. And as coming through as an adult, when you start realizing and really doing self-searching, self-love, self-compassion, and you start on this self-soul journey. So I began by, of course, the program that I'm in, without a doubt, changed my life, but that took action and it took a lot of work. Pharma and that program saved my life. And here I am 20 years later. I don't want to drink because I know if I do drink, I won't stop and I will die. I've proven that to myself time and time again. So then there's this happiness level. And if you look in any medical science, there are levels of depression, but there's no level of happiness. And I know within my soul if I'm happy or not, day in and day out. And I know when I'm restless, irritable, and discontent, because I thankfully have the ability to check in with myself. Now, when you're dealing with depression versus PTSD, here's what I've come to realize. The ugly truth. Almost all of us have some form of PTSD in our tissue. And as I talked about last week, when I went through the program, one of the sayings that we had is the issue is in the tissue. And as I blew into tissues with snot and tears, and I'm thinking that this is therapy, which it was. Crying is definitely therapeutic. I thought the issue was in the tissue that I was blowing into, and I was getting rid of the issue, and I was putting it into the tissue, and I was praying, and I was meditating, and I was living the ways of the program, and everything was going to be okay. And by and large, it is. However, uh, trauma and PTSD are an animal that is embedded deeply into my DNA, my tissue. And so I'm learning about generational trauma and trauma itself, how it has an ability that I might have gone through things throughout my life. And to protect myself, my brain or my subconscious has buried it. It's buried any of those um, episodes. And in order for me to deal with life on life's terms, I've just put it away. And what MDMA does, and it has been scientifically proven to be 70% effective against placebo. And I read one of the pharma's medications that I was taking in some studies was 40 to 50%. So I had to stand back and say, wait a minute, this thing's 40 to 50% effective. And the possibility of what it's doing to damage my brain and my body as I get older. And I had to start weighing, is 40 to 50% efficacy really worth putting my body through all of those side effects that we hear on those commercials if you live in the US? You could lose a limb, you could do this, you could lose that. I mean, the list that they read off of side effects would make you think, why in the world would anyone ever want to take this? But we do, because a lot of us have what's called white coat syndrome. And if the white coat doctor is wearing it and they tell you to take it, you do it. Why in the world would any of us uneducated people go outside the box and start researching and treating ourselves? Why? Because I wanted something more. Because I kept digging deeper and I started watching a lot of YouTube videos. Jayshetty, my hero, Jayshetty. If you haven't watched him, he's phenomenal. He gets amazing guests. Joe Dispenza, he talks about mind and meditation and the power of the mind. All of these things, and I started searching. And then I come across the MDMA. And this was many, many, many months ago. And as I start learning about the difference between PTSD and depression, what I have found is that the pharmaceuticals that are on the market, most definitely in the United States, were largely designed to treat depression. And to truly, truly treat trauma, the only true medicine that is effective in doing so is MDMA. And that is why I chose to take that route. As I have stressed again and again, this was clinical. I was with someone who is a medical professional. I was given a medical clean dose. We knew exactly what the dosage was that I was given, and I was guided. In the book, A Dose of Hope, they talk about the reader or the individual when he first goes in to talk to the person. They actually end up not signing up to do it. They go home and they have to think about it. I knew right away that this was something that I wanted to do. Then the individual that's treating me has to make sure that I am a candidate first and foremost. And the first question is, am I taking SSIs or SSRIs? Because if I am, that's something that I can't be on. So we clarified that last July. I came off of those, so I was no longer on those. And then the second thing is, do you read or do you listen to books on tape? Because I am going to not only request, but require that you read 3 books. So I had to do those. And then, of course, checked back in with her, gave her an update that I had done those. And I love that she does this because, as I've shared in my last episode, if I treat anyone with a plant-based medicine regimen, I put a lot of the education and the responsibility back on them. Because when you build in responsibility and accountability with the patient, I can guide you, I can send you in the right direction, but it's really up to you to educate yourself on what it is that you're putting in your body, and I can guide you on how to dose it and how to take it. Well, I went to this individual because she is the expert on MDMA. You know, I'm an expert on other plants. We go through the planning, the preparation. There's also vitamins that are involved. I had to start prepping my body about a week before, making sure that I was taking the proper dosage of vitamin C as well as magnesium. So, I don't want to tell on myself, and I don't want anyone to make fun of me by any means. But if you're really wanting to look at the difference between what I'm like, if you want to go back and look at the episode where I'm in St. Lucia and I'm doing part 2 interview with Amy Thurman, who wrote the amazing book about looking in the mirror and about how she was literally incapacitated and made a choice to choose life over choosing death and suffering and laying in bed every day. And her book is amazing. But as I looked at myself and I watched myself, this was 2 days after Hurricane Beryl came through St. Lucia. And for 48 hours, I was alone in an apartment with hurricane force winds. Now, I knew that it was going south of us, but you can see me, and I can see it. I'm rattled. I'm frazzled. I'm actually bouncing back and forth off of different subjects. She was a joy and a gem to interview because she could somewhat keep us on task. But that was me, and I just feel like I was off the wheels. I was scattered, and you can see it on film. You can watch the course of the conversation, and I'm going, yeah, and let's talk about this, and let's talk about that, and let's talk about this, and let's talk about that. I was terrified at the situation that I was in. I was totally living in fight or flight, and cortisol and adrenaline had been firing for a long time, and my body was still firing that. So if you want to call going through a hurricane a form of PTSD, let's just say that maybe I was going through some. What my body was doing is, despite the fact that the hurricane was over, the stress hormone that my body had been firing from fight or flight, which is fight to survive or run to survive. I'd been literally shooting off that fight or flight for 48 hours. Because of PTSD, after your body calms and your nervous system says, hey, the danger's over, relax. When you have post-traumatic stress disorder, that stress hormone never stops firing. It never stops. And so here we're believing and going through life thinking, hey, I'm good. I wasn't good. No matter how much breathing I had done or meditation, my body was in a complete and total state of fight or flight, and that stress hormone was firing, and I can see it. And now, 2 weeks post MDMA, as I ask people around me, what do you think? They definitely can say that first and foremost, I have more patience. That mirrors what I feel, which is that I feel calmer. I don't feel frazzled. I don't feel scared for my life. I don't feel like I'm in survival mode. And that is a huge change. And we'll talk a little bit more about these changes post MDMA treatment 1 after this word from Ossity Labs.
Over the last several years, the hemp industry has exploded. And Ossity is a company from the South taking charge of this new frontier. We start with our own world-class plant genetics and use organic and sustainable farming practices to nurture our seedlings into top-quality flower. Our award-winning team uses a state-of-the-art extraction process to isolate not just CBD, but other complementary cannabinoids like CBG and CBC. We remove impurities and then have our own in-house analysis team check and recheck the accuracy of our extracted distillate that goes into our finished products. Our CBD distillate is over 95% pure. Its integrity is unrivaled. We are the industry standard for purity, quality, and consistency. We have a variety of skin gels, edibles, and tinctures. Try our brand out for yourself, and you'll know what quality really means.
Okay, so we're back. Thank you so much, Ossity, for supporting this show. And your products are phenomenal. They're absolutely amazing. one of the things that I do is help people with plant-based therapy. I help them dose cannabinoids. And the starting point for anyone who wants to start any form of plant-based therapy 100% is hemp CBD. And I can very, very confidently say the best CBD that I have found on the market for the absolute best price. I can't believe they sell it for what they sell it for. It's $50 to $60 depending on what you choose. And if you use the Osity Labs code, Plant the Love, you get 20% off. This should be considered a vitamin in anyone, any day. And it's also THC free. So most of us, if you've heard hemp has 3 parts per million THC in it, it does. And Osity makes CBD that is THC free. So if you are drug tested, you can take that product, which is magnificent. So a little bit on Osity. Okay, so back to MDMA therapy on the very last segment. Best thing I've ever done. I'm going to do another one here pretty quick. What it has done for me, it is addressing the trauma that is within my genetic tissue and within me subconsciously. There is data galore on MDMA therapy, and the studies are mind-boggling. The fact that this is not the first thing that is chosen for all of our veterans who come home from war is mind-boggling and a disservice to me. Now, you've got to be brave to do this, because when you read the book, what happens when you do this therapy is you walk through previous therapies, because the way that you solve the therapy is to work through it. And the medicine knows what it's going to show you. You've got to have faith in the medicine, have faith in the process, and then just basically relax and let it do its work. So when I read the book, the main character went into the doctor the first time, didn't, and decided not to do it, went back out, talked to grandma, talked to grandpa, and then ended up deciding over the course to do it. Most people, when they do this the first time, they talk and they share experiences. They start verbalizing different instances in their lives where they've gone through trauma. And as I shared with you last time, I never spoke. I laid there for almost 3 hours, never spoke. And when I did check in with my guide and I said, hey, is the 40 minutes up? When is this thing going to kick in? Because I was ready to start seeing things. I was ready to face whatever it was that I was supposed to face in order to heal as fast as I could heal. And she said, honey, you're 3 hours in. And I couldn't believe it. And so what I have found is that what my body did was seismic muscle relaxation. And I guess I was so wound up, as you can go back and see when I interviewed Amy Thurman, mentally, emotionally, so wound up, so much fight or flight cortisol, so much stress hormone pumping through me that the medicine said, we just need you to relax. Show a little bit of self-compassion, Ashley. Show a little bit of love, because a lot of my life, I've made it a choice, and happily putting others before me. I love helping other people. It gives me great joy helping other people. But sometimes when you help people before you help yourself, then yourself really isn't that great. And that's what I found out. Putting others before yourself, your own self-work and self-healing. I don't mean putting yourself before others in life. Okay. There's a wonderful thing about putting others first, but there's no others if there's no me. And there's no me if I don't take care of me. Because being 49 years of age, one thing that I've definitely found out is that there's really nobody that's going to care about you but you. And nobody that's really going to do your self-care better than you. And so I can stand around and look around and see if somebody's going to throw me a lifeline, or I can just stand up, dust myself off, and figure out how I'm going to fix myself and be the best person that Ashley can be right now today by looking around, finding resources, using those resources, taking action, and applying it in my life. And so we can all sit around and talk about what we're going to do someday. But today, recently made the decision to do something that will truly change my life. And without a shadow of a doubt, going into a program at the age of 27 to address my alcoholism was the first step. And now, that second phase of my life, most definitely, is dealing with family generational trauma and PTSD by utilizing MDMA. And my proof is in the pudding. I'm sitting here, I'm calm. My thoughts aren't racing. I don't lose my temper quickly out of frustration. I wouldn't say that I had a bad temper before, but if a lot was going on and I was trying to do a lot of things at once and one more thing was added, I'd lose it. I'd blow a gasket. And that definitely, I think you could say, was losing temper. So now if stuff starts coming at me and it's stressful or it hurts me, I just kind of say, okay, you'll have that. Another thing that I found is key is if I don't expect a lot out of other people, then I'm not going to be disappointed. And that's something the program taught me, that if I, can apply that frequently, I'm not going to be shocked or surprised if someone disappoints me. And that's on me. And it definitely saves me a lot of pain and a lot of disappointment as I go through life. And the program taught me that. But the patience thing, no amount of program was keeping me calm. And that's because I have a condition, be it bipolar or PTSD, that no medication can fix and no program can fix. And what I have found is that MDMA is fixing it. And I will continue to go on this journey to fix myself and be the best person that I can be so that I can help the people on this planet as much as I possibly can. And I can't help others unless I'm fixed. And I'll never be fixed. I'm always going to be on a journey to be better, and always learn. But this MDMA therapy is something that I have waited on, I would say, most of my adult life. And because I was afraid of endangering my sobriety, it was something that I never looked into. And once I started reading the research, recognizing that psychedelics as a whole really do have valid medicinal value, that's when it was a year ago that I accepted the fact that using psychedelics in microdose form and then in clinical form absolutely in no way, shape, or form jeopardizes my sobriety, because it is dealing with life on life's terms at a level that the program couldn't offer me. And so I sit here grateful, calm, at peace, and I look forward to continuing to find even more peace when life continues to show up, because life is going to show up and how I react is everything. Maybe that needs to be my new tagline for Plant the Love. How we react is everything. So go plant the love.